within the isolated depths of a frontier region known as the Eastern Fringe. A relatively new and vastly underdeveloped world known as Turrainia had fallen to the ruinous powers of the warp and was now engulfed in a seemingly endless war. Sadly, as it had been for millennia throughout the galaxy and will be forevermore, Turrainia's history is already stained by the bloodshed of fellow mankind. For this war, this fire, is one sparked by those already tainted by the poisonous talons of chaos. The ever-replenished forces of the Imperial Guard were engaged in a bloody battle of attrition against their fallen brothers, those marked by chaos. The regiments of the Traitor Guard outnumbered and outgunned their enemy, fueled by the hatred and dementia of the warp as it continued to plague these lands. But the Guardsmen did not falter. They did not retreat. They pushed on, ever forward they marched into the violence of battle with the strength, courage, and might of Imperial fury.
To hell with the Imperium! With this disgusting forsaken backwater planet, this mindless fracking war! And to hell with you too!
You take those words back, son.
Never! I'll be spitting these words until the day I die!
Well, you know what? Today might just be your lucky day.
You know what else, Commander? You know what else? To hell with the Emperor too!
Tank Commander Asher turned his head to see Commissar Einrich's bolt pistol still smoking. The shot rang in his ears as he followed the black-coated arm back to the man's face. Einrich tried desperately to cover his gaunt and weathered features with a thick moustache, his red-peaked officer's cap pulled as low as possible above dry and weary eyes.
I do not tolerate heresy. I need loyalty. I need faith. I need morale to be high among my men. We walk the same path and we will walk it together or not at all. Understood?
The commander, along with the remainder of his crew, nodded briefly.
I thought you were dead.
Well, the Emperor protects, Commissar.
Asher turned and regarded his men. His olive-drab overcoat was covered in the filth of battle, every inch stained with mud, oil, and dried blood. He sighed deeply as he pushed back his greased hair before finally resting his hands on the sword and bolter that remained tucked into his belt. And in return, his men stood to attention, full of admiration, loyalty, and brotherhood.
Gator, get those tubes greased up and ready to go.
Yes, sir!
Gator, the loader of the crew, scuffed his nails over his shaved head like a madman. He quickly wet his finger and ran the saliva down a scar that ran the full length of his right cheek down to his lip line, before climbing atop the Leman Russ and disappearing into the hatch.
Silas, same for the guns, please. And double check on our ammo reserves.
Yes, sir. Silas, the tank's gunner, turned to follow Gator immediately. Miraculously, he had no battle scars, just a pencil-thin line of stubble above his lip. Maybe that was down to his faith, maybe not. For above all else, Silas believed wholly in the Emperor's protection. Asher smiled and rubbed a speck of dirt from his augmetic eye as he walked away. They were good men. Battle-hardened and crazy as hell, but good men nonetheless. His men. And he would die for them as they would lay their life on the line for him.
I'm off to find another driver,
he said as he passed the Commissar.
I suggest you keep an eye on your crew, Commander. Otherwise, I will pay more attention to you.
Asher briefly considered ignoring Einrich, but something stopped him in his tracks. He turned to face the man.
He cracked in the last battle. Almost got the lot of us killed. He was weak, tainted even. I could see it in his eyes. If you hadn't have put him down, I would have done so myself.
Very well. As you were.
It is said that each guardsman is sworn to protect the Emperor's realm, to annihilate his enemies in any war they fight across the great span of the Imperium. This planet, this war, this moment they lived through now, this was warfare at its most brutal, where the lives of individual soldiers are irrelevant, and the sacrifice of the many can decide the fate of worlds. But it can also be said that amidst the chaos, amongst the bloodshed that lies out there on the battlefield, there are times when the action of a single guardsman can turn the tide of war. They had nearly witnessed that moment, nearly experienced a shift in the tide, all down to that one man. And although the Commissar had not witnessed that moment himself, he had only caught the tail end of the aftermath. He had put a swift end to that guardsman's life. It was for his own good. Better death than to be turned by the twisted will of the Chaos Gods. Asher knew, and so did his men, it was an act of kindness that any one of them would wish upon themselves, had the same happened to them. The commander disappeared into the weary crowd, leaving his men with their machine. But this wasn't just any machine. This was a mighty Leman Russ battle tank that they had fondly named Vengeance. And more than that, it was their home, shared with their brothers via bonds forged in the flames of war. Today they had lost one of their brothers, but none of them saw it that way. It wasn't the commander nor the Commissar that had killed their brother, for in truth he had lost his way many moons back during the raid on the 17th. The things they saw that day, the things they did that day. His mind had been opened to weakness, creating a void, and that void had been filled by chaos. It was a cancer that would spread throughout his brain and slowly take him whole. The Commissar had done the right thing. Asher returned after a short while, his face less than pleased, his tone lacking any form of hope.
Everyone, this is our new driver. His name is Novak. Be nice to him.
Gator emerged from the tank's darkness and stood atop its metal frame as Silas poked his head above the hatch. Novak stepped forward, repositioning the lasgun strapped around his shoulder, and offered his hand.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you all.
The crew remained silent, unmoving. Novak withdrew his offer and glanced up to his new commander. Asher peered at him through his green augmetic eye, while the other, organic variant closed. But he offered no words of encouragement. He simply nodded at the recruit and walked away. Finally, Gator jumped down to approach the fresh-faced guardsman.
You know tanks?
No. Actually, I've never been inside one. I'm a fresh recruit. Should I even be in a tank crew? Maybe this was a mistake or something.
Nah, kid. The Administratum don't make too many mistakes when it comes to sacrifices.
Gator leaned back against the cold metal of the Leman Russ's chain tracks and lit a low stick.
You ready to get your 15 hours of fame, kid?
Huh? I don't... what do you mean?
Shit! Not many of us do! Only the best, only the brave, only the hardest. It helps to get positioned, obviously, eh?
I'm still not following. Why 15 hours?
Silas joined them and stepped forward, glaring deeply into the young man's eyes.
You'll find out. One way or the other, kid. That's the average life expectancy they give a new recruit. Some of us are just lucky, I guess.
Oh, maybe I'll be a lucky one too, then.
Nah, kid, there ain't no such thing as a lucky one. Not in this life. You just wait. Wait till you see it.
See what?
The hell, the violence, the horror of war. You see what man can do to each other.
A deep silence followed after Silas's words. Gator broke the trance and walked around the side of the tank.
Come and have a look at your seat, kid. It's pretty damn cramped in there, but you'll get used to it. Or not. Who cares?
Novak slowly broke away from Silas's stare, climbed up the side track and dropped through the narrow hatch into sudden darkness. The smell hit him immediately. A musky, thick layer of human sweat and blood mixed with the tank's own metal aroma, and enveloped entirely with a scent of gun grease and scorched shell casings. The interior was uncomfortably small, barely able to fit 4 people, let alone move freely within such a confined space. Pictures of loved or desired ones clung to the sides with the occasional personal effects here and there. Most, if not all of them, had been stained or had their edges burned away. Gator slipped in beside him and pointed out several areas of importance.
That's your seat there, kid. Front of the rig. This here's the controls for Silas's weapon of choice. The big old battle cannon. Yep. That's a whole lot of pain right there. I sit at the back next to the engine vent and keep busy loading everything anyone needs. That's Asher's spot up there, although he likes to see with his own eyes, so he's half in and half out most of the time, but we can see too. We got gunners, periscopes, spotter slates, targeting lenses, you name it. Over at the front you got the hull-mounted heavy bolter, and on the sides you got your sponson-mounted multimeter. Yeah, we sure to pack a punch.
Gator turned and slapped the side of the Vengeance's hull with a wry smile upon his face.
And last, but not least, if all else fails, here's your side hatch for emergency exits.
Novak simply nodded. It was all far too much to take in initially, but he got the gist of everything that mattered, especially the closest exit point. Commander Asher stood among his peers, or what was left of them. The platoon lieutenant looked upon his men. His eyes appeared almost closed, yet he was fully alert. His skin pale and weathered despite his relatively young age, but his demeanor was that of a proud man. The situation they found themselves in was dire. They were 2 squads down already. All that remained were a dozen men and even less mechanized armor. And as the Commissar looked down upon them all, the lieutenant spoke.
Listen, we're beaten up here, I know that. But also know we are guardsmen. We stand and we fight until we cannot stand no more. We pick ourselves up and we move on. We have new orders. We're heading north to meet up with Blue Platoon. We'll be teasing the enemy lines to get there, so stay vigilant. Keep your eyes peeled on the horizon. All right, let's mount up.
Asher nodded, turned and walked back toward the Vengeance. As he made his way through the wet, sodden clumps of mud beneath his boots, he gazed at the tired eyes around him, of what remained of their platoon, his crew, the fear in the rookie's eyes. There were 3 tanks left. All commanders and their men were just as experienced as they were. He knew that. They would all fight for each other with the utmost of loyalty, or die trying. But they were teasing the enemy, bordering their territory, risking everything to regroup and push forward. There was never any retreating, never any falling back. He lit a low stick and puffed out as he looked up toward the grey overcast skies covering this scorched land. A distant boom signaled the orbital entry of another drop. Who knows what this time? More armor, more ammo, more men. The Imperial Guard were always replenished, and just as many would fall to chaos and hence become the enemy. It was a vicious cycle. Sure enough, a Devourer dropship appeared, puncturing through the clouds like a speeding bullet, leaving a trail of vapor in its wake. He briefly wondered what it would feel like up there, the bravery of being out of range. But the reality was, nothing was ever truly out of range. Asher slowed as he approached his men. The low stick hung lightly from his lips, and the smoke slowly swirled around his face. He didn't like the plan, and he knew his crew wouldn't either. But orders were orders, and they would all do as they were told. A little moaning and groaning now and then was perfectly acceptable. His crew stood around the Leman Russ battle tank, each trying to clean their dirty hands with even dirtier rags.
We're heading out.
Where to, sir?
Up north. We're meeting up with Blue Platoon.
Shit. Well, that's just great, ain't it?
But that's heading into enemy territory, sir.
You got that right. And by the way, we ain't got no more ammo for the Malta.
Shit. Nothing changes, does it?
But I mean, can't we just...
Let's get to it, people. We're heading out in 5.
And as the afternoon began to settle in, the clouds finally let go of their harvest, and a mild rain fell upon them all as the remains of Red Platoon embarked on their perilous journey. The rain continued to fall. As the remnants of Red Platoon pushed forward, the battle tanks in a line with the guardsmen close by, and in between the vehicles for protection. The path they followed hugged the tallest tree line. Around them now, the empty wastes of previous battlegrounds still haunted by the rotting dead that lay scattered here and there. The fields looked dry somehow, despite the sheer volumes of blood that soaked the ground and lingered in what little grass remained. Yet the path they were currently traversing was filled with wet, pulpy mud. It made for slow moving and hard walking, but still they pushed forward, their eyes darting from one side to the other, looking for movement, looking for a flash of color or a tint of light. But so far, everything had gone smoothly. Commander Asher, loader Gator, and the tank's gunner Silas breathed what little fresh air remained in this ash-laden landscape as they stood on lookout, their heads peering through the tank's hatches as Novak kept to his course. Silas ran a thumb across his pencil-thin attempt at a moustache and began to shake his head.
Oh man, this don't feel right.
Asher removed his cap, brushed his sweaty, grease-lined hair back, and then placed his cap back on.
You have something to say, Silas?
I said it already. This don't feel right is all.
Gator couldn't resist the temptation to mess with his friend.
Just feels like you're scared again, huh?
Man, shut up, Gator. I ain't scared of nothing. The Emperor protects me from harm, no matter where I am. No matter what time of day nor night, the Emperor casts his light upon me, and that's all I need. Gives me the courage to face any man.
One thing is for sure, son. They might still look like it, but those things out there are certainly not men. Not anymore.
Yeah, I know. And I'm ready to fight any damn thing too, Emperor willing.
So what? You think this is some kind of suicide mission, regrouping like this?
Across enemy lines? You're damn straight I think that. We could have easily fallen back and circled round.
Are you questioning the orders of the Departamento Monitorum, son? You have no faith in the High Lords, is that right?
They probably don't even know this war is happening yet.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Gator reached over the side and slapped the tank's hull as hard as he could.
All I know is that we have the power to take down any of these traitor-gut scum! We are the Hammer of the Emperor!
The Hammer of the Emperor!
Ooh! That's the spirit, boys. Into hell we march, and victorious we shall return.
Below them all, sitting quietly in his seat, Novak peered forward as he gripped the controls with white-hot knuckles, his arms shaking, his heart pounding. He wanted to leave, wanted to cry, wanted to be anywhere else but right here, right now. The journey was long, the edges of the fields they clung to still filled with the remnants from battles long past. It seemed a never-ending display. Sentinel walkers on their sides, their long legs broken or missing, the empty frames of scorched machines of war, the remains of guardsmen, both good and bad, their bodies torn apart by last gunfire, their blood drained and seeped into the very mud they themselves were slowly submerging into. As they approached the last known position of Blue Company, the clouds darkened, and a gentle wind swept across them all. But the welcoming breeze made them aware of the smoke plumes up ahead. A battle had recently taken place here, and the eerie silence that fell upon the land was as bad an omen as one could imagine. Orders from the platoon lieutenant rasped through the vox speakers.
All men stay alert. They spread into a defensive V formation. Commander Asher lead the way.
Aye, sir.
Responded Asher, motioning for Novak to slowly push forward. The two remaining Leman Russ tanks spread slightly to their flanks and followed close behind. Novak felt his heart race inside his chest, bile threatening to explode from his throat as his trembling hands held the controls. The panic, the fear was in his blood, traveling to every limb, every part of his soul, and for a second, he thought he heard something whispering to him. As the evening began to set in, and the overcast clouds darkened with the anticipation of impending violence, Asher adjusted his green augmatic eye, setting the outcome to accommodate a mild night vision. The cabling that ran across his temple and penetrated his skin just above his jawline twinged slightly. Everything seemed quite serene, peaceful even. It was oddly quiet. Another gentle breeze grazed their skin and did its best to part the tree line ahead. And there, amidst the darkness, something moved.
All units halt!
The field before them was empty, the surrounding trees and shrubbery covered in a deep, low mist.
Watch that tree line. Something don't seem right.
Where the hell are they?
Voiced the platoon lieutenant as he huffed, disembarked his personal vehicle, and made his way to the front of the line.
Asher! What the hell is keeping us here? We need to...
A line of red light filled the air as the beam ripped through the lieutenant's head, sending his helmet flying backwards as all hell broke loose around them.
Forward!
The trio of Leman Russ tanks pushed forward as the rank and file followed in between. Weapon fire exchanged wildly, seemingly in all directions now. Bullets and beams impacting the tanks, smashing into the flak armor or piercing through flesh. The heat and light of battle filled the air around them, as if the night itself was on fire.
Tank! 2 o'clock! Take that thing out!
Silas turned the turret to match Asher's command.
I got aim!
Gator rammed the ammunition home.
Loaded! Ready!
Fire!
The sheer power of the boom vibrated the metal hull and left a ringing in their ears as the bore evacuator purged the built-up combustion gas from the shot. Asher watched the trail as the shell sped across the field and impacted the side of the enemy tank. He couldn't make out the design, but it was small, and now it was incapacitated.
Destroyed!
Hell yeah!
The adrenaline rushed through their veins, but the joy of the kill was quickly brought back down as a tank round whistled by their heads. Before them now, the traitor guard exposed themselves, bodies emerging from the tree line and filling the field with astonishing numbers.
Emperor's throne! There's so many of them! Get on that heavy bolter!
Gator loaded another round for Silas before shifting position and taking hold of the heavy bolter. He gripped tightly as he began unloading round after round into the traitor guard ahead. Behind them, the dwindling remains of Red Platoon broke formation. Men began to spread out as the tanks pushed forward, and the return fire continued to trade across the field. A bolt of light erupted from the tree line and exploded into the Leman Russ beside them. The turret lifted into the air and fell down with a heavy crash 20 yards back as the tank erupted in flames.
Tree line, 12 o'clock! Dead ahead of us!
I got it, sir! You ready to go? Shoot the damn thing!
Fire!
A bullet ricocheted off the top of the tank. The incoming fire was relentless. Bodies began to line the field in every direction. The ground saturated in blood and broken limbs. But still, more of them came. Asher leaned farther out of his hatch and fired into the crowd, taking down one, then the other, stopping only to reload his bolter or designate the next target. Gator quickly left his post to load another shell for Silas.
Get back on that heavy soon, Gator!
Yes, sir!
Men on both sides were being slaughtered in this gruesome battle. Smoke began to layer and cover the field, leaving them all barely able to see. Another heavy round erupted into the remaining Leman Russ beside them. The impact sent a thunderous shockwave throughout the field and left a gaping hole in its side. The very ground beneath them rumbled as a second round pummeled into them and exploded the battle tank in a spatter of raging fire and red mist.
Turn hard left, 90 degrees! Hard left now!
Where is it? Where is it?
Hold on course, Novak. That's good, that's good.
Their eyes darted from left to right, hoping for any kind of visual target, any movement at all. And then it came. Through the thick layer of heavy smoke and mist that had settled upon the field, a tank punctured through, swirling the mist by its sides as the slipstream caught the air.
I see it. Holy imp. It's a Bane sword.
Full speed ahead, zigzag pattern, now!
Novak hesitated, his hands trembling, his limbs unable to follow basic commands.
What? You want me to head straight for it?
Now, Novak! The quicker we close distance on that thing, the better our chances.
Do it, boy! No!
Novak followed his orders with surprising efficiency as the Bane sword matched their actions. Another quake ruptured the air as another round flew past them. The Bane sword's Titan-grade quake cannon released a puff of smoke into the cold air as its recoil dampeners heated. The Bane sword was a machine to be feared. Its shells buried themselves deep before igniting, causing tremendous damage and a localized earthquake which only increased the terror.
Emperor, damn it! Fire on that thing!
Ready.
Loaded!
Come on. Come on.
Fire!
The Vengeance fired, but the aim was too high. Its shells skimmed across the top of the Bane sword, ripping off its comms antenna and flying up into the night sky with a piercing trail of fire. Now the tanks closed in on each other with frightening speed, neither backing away, neither slowing down. The field around them was quiet now, non-existent, for there was only this moment, only this duel. The tanks passed side by side with terrified proximity, only yards between them. The chaos-consumed commander offered a crazed smile as he fired his bolter. Asher ducked beneath his hatch as the bullet whistled overhead.
Wait for my command to turn!
But sire...
Wait to turn!
The Bane sword's turret was slowly turning to face the Leman Russ's delicate rear plating.
Wait. Wait.
Finally, the Bane sword locked onto them. The turret had stopped moving, the quake cannon rumbling with anticipation.
Hard left now!
Novak snatched at the controls and the Vengeance turned violently as the Bane sword fired. The shell impacted on the lower right chain tracks, the round pummeling into the wheels before detonating with a mighty tremor. But the Leman Russ had enough momentum to complete its turn.
Silas, aim at the center rear!
Got it, sir.
Reloaded?
Loaded and ready!
Fire!
The traitor commander's eyes widened as the shell rammed home and the Bane sword exploded into a million fragments of once proud machine.
For the Emperor!
Damn you to the war, heretic!
Hell yeah!
As the adrenaline began to deplete in their bodies, they realized just how quiet it was around them. The field was empty, for everyone else was already dead. Novak had no sense of his own body. He felt weak, frail, exhausted to his very core. He wanted to throw up, but there was nothing in his stomach but fear. Asher had ordered them out, and as Novak departed the vehicle, he cast his eyes up at a rare glance of the moon, as it briefly appeared through the swollen clouds. And then, just as quickly, it hid away, not wanting to be exposed for too long to the horror that lay beneath.
Wow. How long did that fight last?
Long enough, son. Long enough.
One by one, the crew of the Vengeance finally touched the ground, able to stretch their aching legs and breathe the relatively clean air. They were not going anywhere in a hurry until the chains were fixed, and for now, they seemed to be alone. Novak strayed off and walked through the dead, his eyes cast down in disbelief at the state of the remains. Bodies blown apart, severed limbs, holes in places no holes should be, intestines leaking onto the ground, and the blood. There was so much blood. In partial shock, he hadn't even realized the body before him was moving, still alive. He had found someone that was still alive. He knelt beside them with some form of happiness beginning to fill his heart, but that happiness was soon replaced once more with sadness, as a shot rang through his ears. Novak turned to see Gator holding the gun.
What have you done? Why did you do that?
You stupid son of a bitch! That was a heretic! You gave that scum half a chance and they would finish you off, no matter how beat up they are!
Novak began to sob. He muttered and repeated the same word over and over under his breath.
Why? Why?
Gator holstered his weapon and bent down to help the new recruit to his feet.
This is war, kid. It's just war.
Why did they change?
War feeds emotions. Emotions feed the warp.
Asher stood beside the broken chains as Silas inspected them. The rear wheel was buckled, the chain was torn in two, and the bolts were broken and shattered.
How's it looking, Silas?
Broke as shit. And ugly looking too.
Okay. Can you fix it?
Yeah. Why not?
Good. Let's get to work then. Gator, Silas, you start on the repairs. Novak and I will rest. We do shifts. 2 hours on, 2 hours off.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right then. And stay alert at all times.
And as the moon continued to peek through the fast-moving clouds, the crew took to their roles. For Asher and Novak, their bodies exhausted, their minds getting the best of them, they rested and fell quickly into slumber. The morning sun lifted with a deep amber glow, its heat trying desperately to penetrate the low-hanging mist that clung to the bloodied floor. The crew were still tired, still exhausted. They had worked through the night, and the shifts of sleep were light and broken in between. And now, the new day was about to bring a new horror. Novak returned quickly from his wide perimeter check. Asher had seen him running and paced forward to meet the new recruit.
What is it, son?
Incoming. We have troops incoming from the south.
We're almost done here, sir.
There's no time. We leave the tank. Let's head back north on foot.
Silas discarded the tools in his hands and replaced them with his last gun. But as they ready to leave, they noticed movement in the tree line ahead. The traitor regiment had returned from their retreat. They hugged the trees, checking the dead bodies that littered the areas in between, and now their reinforcements were approaching fast from the other direction.
Frog! We are surrounded!
Oh, what do we do?
Get back inside. We wait and hope they don't find us.
The men climbed up the battle tank with a renewed sense of urgency, and one by one they disappeared from sight, slowly and softly closing the hatch behind them. Without talking, they each prepared what little ammo remained, checking their weapons, counting their frag grenades. Now all they could do was wait. The tension was painfully real as their hearts beat in a crescendo that filled their own little inner sanctum.
Oh no. They found us.
Yep.
Silas shifted in his seat. He looked pensive, distant.
Sir. can I admit something to you?
Of course you can, soldier.
I'm frightened, sir. I don't want to die here.
We all have to die one day, Silas.
Gator nodded his head in agreement.
Shit. Ain't that the truth? And the sad thing is, we will not be missed.
Novak simply sat in stunned silence. There was no words needed. The tears that ran freely down his cheeks were enough. Asher turned and pulled a bottle of Amasec from a small compartment, opened it, took a swig and passed it round his men.
You've been keeping that from us, sir.
Just saving it for the right moment.
Asher gazed upon his crew. Memories flooded his mind of their times together, old and new. They were good men, all of them, and in their darkest hour he knew they would go down fighting side by side until the end.
We are the lowest of the Imperium's force in terms of individual strength. But we are the greatest in terms of might, in terms of courage. We hold a fire inside us all, a fire in our hearts that shines for our beloved Emperor, as strong as the Astronomicon itself. Everything we have done to this day, the battles we have won, the battles we have lost, they have all been in his name. We are his weapons. And in death, he will look upon your souls as I look upon them right now. And I am proud to have served with you men, every single one of you. And I will end this life happy, if my fate is to die alongside you here today.
He reached out his hand, and his men piled theirs on top as a silence of gratitude enveloped them all. Novak turned to peek through the forward vision slot, his words drenched in sorrow.
They're here.
The crew readied their arms as they took a final breath. It was a moment of calm that appeared almost transcendent, as if the world could just as easily fall away beneath them, and they would fall with grace to another place, a better place. Almost in slow motion, the hatch flew open. Several frag grenades flew in various directions, the detonation sending bodies flying and creating enough smoke and distraction for the men to exit the tank. Their lasguns readied, their faces stern.
For the Emperor!
Come and take me, bastards!
For the Emperor!
Go back from where you came!
Gator stayed on the heavy bolter, pummeling round after round into the approaching enemy until there were no more rounds left to give, and he jumped through the hatch to fight side by side with his brothers. A thick smoke filled the air, and within that air, the coppery scent of violence could be tasted. Silas twirled through the traitor guard, his lasgun firing with precision aim. Asher spent his last few bolter rounds and swiftly unsheathed his sword. Now he cut through limbs and exposed necks with tremendous fury. The look in his eyes was that of pure fire. Novak stumbled forward, his lasgun dropping to the floor. Gator noticed.
Novak!
And immediately provided covering fire as he knelt down on one knee. And as he did so, his chest exploded in a red mist that covered Novak's face. Silas cried out for his friend.
No! Ah! No! Gator! Gator! Ah! You heretic scum! Ah!
His loss temporarily causing his focus to shift. He managed 3 steps before the bullets sunk into him, and he dropped lifeless to the ground, only yards away from his friend. Asher continued to swing his sword violently from side to side. Arcs of steel filled the air and cut through the smoke, but a sword is nothing compared to several lasguns cutting through your skin, boiling you from the inside.
For the Emperor!
He had taken several rounds, but still he pushed forward. Still he swung. Still he continued to fight in his name. But the last impact shattered his spine, and he fell to his knees. All he could offer was a brief glimpse at Novak, and a faint, grateful smile as the final shot ended his life. Novak crept along the ground. His legs screaming in pain, blood gushing from several wounds as he clawed at the sodden mud until his hand landed on the cold texture of a soldier's boot. He rolled onto his back, but he did not look at the heretic or their cruel smile of pleasure. He looked past that man to witness a rare sunbeam shine down through the thick clouds upon the remnants of their tank, the Vengeance. It gleamed in the light like a beacon of gratitude sent by the Emperor himself. And it was the last light he saw before he drew his final breath. And his world faded to darkness.